It's once again that type of month where we take a look at condo prices from across the city of Toronto, breaking it down by individual neighborhoods, seeing what the trends are, and as always, I will add my own commentary as a Toronto realtor working actively with a lot of buyers right now and some sellers across the Toronto real estate market, particularly in this case, the Toronto condo market. So let's break down Toronto condo prices from across the city. But before we get into it, hello everyone, this is Sam from SaberiSixRealEstate. Welcome to the channel. If you're new to the channel, on this channel, we like to talk everything having to do with the Toronto real estate market, Toronto area analysis, market stats, market reports, buyer advice, seller advice, condo reviews, and all types of interesting content, anything really having to do with the Toronto real estate market. So if you find this content informative or enjoyable, definitely subscribe and support the channel. Furthermore, you can find my link in the bio. That's right, you can now get in touch with me. It's easier than ever to book a call with me. I've been lucky enough to meet a lot of my wonderful and fantastic clients from this channel. Feel free to get in touch with me with any further buying or selling inquiries. Now today's video is going to be a little bit of a different type of video. These videos where we go through prices sometimes are really numbers heavy, they're quantitative as opposed to qualitative. So it might be boring to some, to others it's very exciting. These price videos are some of people's favorites. So let's start with downtown Toronto condo prices. Obviously, we're gonna break down downtown Toronto condo prices between C8 and C1. If you don't know what these codes refer to, they refer to the TREP designations or distinctions. You can find what they exactly refer to in the link. There's a TREP maps link. Go toggle the communities and municipalities button, and you'll see what these codes, what the boundaries are and what they designate. So starting with C1, C1 kind of designates downtown Toronto Central to downtown Toronto West. And obviously we see so far in July, keep in mind, these are July prices from the 1st to 23rd. At the time I'm recording this video, it's the 24th, July 24th. So we don't have a full day of sales data for today, so it's up to the 23rd. The average sold price for a condo came in at $774,000 with a median sold price of $675,000. Now, what I will say, and this will apply to all the areas we cover in today's video, the median in today's market is a much better indicator because medians are better at capturing the essence of the matter when sales are low. And in today's market, sales are low. I believe the C1 figure is based on 130 sales, which for C1 is quite low. Nonetheless, though, as you guys know, I'm actively working across the city. Downtown is one of the areas I work the most and one of the areas that people get in touch with me with regards to buying the most and selling as well. And insofar as downtown is concerned, especially C1, there's a lot of junk inventory. I would probably have to say even more than C8, the counterpart that we're going to discuss. Back when the market was peaking, especially in March of 2022 for condos, the median in some instances was higher than 750. And breaking down C1 a bit further, the majority of these sales reside either in the waterfront communities, so the southernmost portions of C1, the waterfront areas, Queens Quay, Lakeshore, or interestingly enough, Bay Street, the Bay Street corridor as well. To no one's surprise, C8, moving on to C8, now C8 designates kind of the eastern portions of downtown Toronto. And as always, in any given market, C8, it tends to be much cheaper. In this case, it's still the case with regards to average. The average sold price came in at $702,000 so far in July 2024. The median is not much less. It's only less to a tune of $10,000, coming in at a median sold price of $665,000. And although the Toronto condo market overall is struggling, downtown is struggling, especially. The ground zero is kind of the C1, C8 on average, and this is generalizing to a high degree, but on average, C8 is performing a bit better, I guess. Nothing stellar, nothing to run home about if you're a seller, but some units are selling slightly better in C8 than they are in C1. But that's simply because it's less junk inventory. Don't get me wrong, there is a lot of junk inventory, but it's just less junk inventory, and furthermore, the prices are just lower. And really the area that's most active with regards to C8 is the Church-Yonge corridor, which kind of runs parallel to the Bay Street corridor in C1. In this case, Church-Yonge corridor is one of the more active pockets, and in this case, Church-Yonge corridor has been one of the most active pockets in July in 2024. So now let's shift focus all the way to North York, one of my favorite areas and one of the other areas I work quite frequently. So now let's shift our focus all the way to North York around the Yonge Sheppard, Yonge Finch, Bayview Sheppard, Bayview Finch, Yonge Steeles, Bayview Steeles, and then all the way east to Don Mills, you know, Shepherd and Don Mills, and, you know, the northern parts of that. North York, so far, the average sold price in July of 2024 has come in at $737,000 with a median sold price of $661,000. Now, this is actually a little bit misleading, and let me tell you why, right? Usually when I cover North York on this channel, I really cover like central North York, right? So really Bayview Village, Yonge Shepherd, Yonge Finch, Bayview Shepherd. Like I don't even really go west of that. And I sometimes don't really cover in my North York category Don Mills and Shepherd, like where the Fairview Mall area is, you know, those buildings as well. I don't really cover those in the North York category. In this case, I expanded North York because that is technically North York, right? And those buildings further east on Shepherd, further east on Finch, drag down the prices to the tune here. We have $737,000 and median sold prices of $661,000, right? I would say most of the mediocre building stock in North York resides in that eastern half around Fairview Mall, around that Canadian Tire at Leslie, Shepherd and Leslie. Obviously, you already know I'm going to bring up the best Toronto condo building, in my opinion, at Shepherd and Leslie, which is 25 right away. That's the exception, and is technically Bayview Village. Nonetheless, so these are the averages we're seeing in North York in July of 2024. You know, average and medians rather. And you once again, you see on a median basis, there's not that big of a gap between North York and downtown Toronto. Now, where there is a bigger gap in median sold prices between downtown Toronto, or really, you know, North York as well, is Midtown. Let's take a look at Midtown prices. Midtown here, we're looking at Yonge and Eglinton, Yonge St, and all the way to the Annex, and certain brief street that would be considered Yorkville, which is once again Midtown. That would be considered Yorkville. And here we see, under that definition of Midtown, we see an average sold price of $930,000 so far in July of 2024, and a median sold price of $739,000. Now, on the contrary, once again, here, what's really doing the heavy lifting for Midtown prices is the Annex. If we were to remove the sales that occurred in the Annex and closer to Bloor, really the median and average sold prices would be much closer to the North York prices, because Yonge and Eglinton is really struggling as well. There is a lot of inventory collecting dust around Yonge and Eglinton on the Red Path buildings, the Roehampton buildings especially. There's a lot of buildings on those two particular streets, and they're not performing really well. The glut of inventory is most pronounced outside of C1, I would say, with Yonge and Eglinton. Buildings like 8 Eglinton Avenue as well, the E-condos, right? There's dime a dozen units, especially for 2 bedrooms. I was recently working with a 2-bedroom condo buyer, and we were looking at Yonge and Eglinton a bit, and we went to 8 Eglinton Avenue, and I'm very lukewarm on that building. I think that building is a solid 7 out of 10, 7.5 out of 10. A little bit better than lukewarm. It's okay. You know, we were looking at 8 Eglinton, and we saw so many 2 bedrooms in that building. I think we saw 5 concurrent listings that were 2 bedrooms in that building. And that kind of internal competition is really not helping prices. Whereas with St. Clair and Annex, obviously these are fantastic areas, and obviously more boutique buildings, more bougie buildings, and they're kind of carrying up the averages. And of course, those are still selling for less than they would have 2 years ago or even last spring. But in today's market, those are performing much better. Now let's go all the way back to Southwest Toronto in the Etobicoke, Mimico, Long Branch, and the Humber Bay area. And here we see interesting results. We see so far in July of 2024, the average sold price for a condo, for average condo, has been $754,000, and the median has been $702,000. Now, interestingly enough, as someone who's working really across the city, I hate to keep saying that. I'm not trying to brag. It's just, I just want you guys to understand where I'm coming from when I give you anecdotal experiences on the ground. Like, I'm in downtown Mimico, Midtown, North York, Scarborough, York region even. I'm everywhere, unfortunately, for my mental health. Nonetheless, I'm everywhere, and I'm just seeing a lot of things, and just comparing, contrasting along the edges, around the margins. Mimico and Long Branch is actually seeing more activity than I would say the other areas in the city of Toronto. Once again, it's nowhere near even a moderate market. It's still very much so in a buyer-friendly market. So this commentary is around the edges, right, and the margins. But like, whenever I go, and I've been working actively with a buyer in the Mimico area, in the Humber Bay area, and whenever I go to a unit there and I'm signing in to see, to view the unit and get the lockbox, I'm seeing a couple more viewings according to the sign-in sheet for that unit, as opposed to a unit, let's say in downtown and more central, even, you know, I would say like even Midtown, obviously, as I just mentioned, right? So, and then running the numbers, this is actually reflected in the median sold price, where the median sold price is higher than not Midtown that we discussed, but, you know, North York and downtown C1 and downtown C8. And then we're gonna end the video with a brief look at Scarborough. Scarborough, obviously the cheapest. I know we're not looking at specific communities in Scarborough, we're looking at the entire thing because there isn't that many sales happening in Scarborough. That's why we can kind of confine it to the entire east side of Toronto, which is Scarborough, right? Here we see the average sold price in July of 2024 has been $625,000. The median has been $575,000. Now, the thing about Scarborough condo market, is that with regards to its condo market, it has a lot of old buildings, and old doesn't mean bad, but old, and I'm in this case in Scarborough, I'm talking about like old, like 30 to 50-year-old buildings. In these cases, these old buildings are obviously depreciated, right? You can really maybe make some sort of profit in a moderate to hot market, but in a down market such as today, you're really not making much money, right? And this is not to say that, of course, there isn't any old buildings in Western Toronto, Central Toronto. There is a lot of old buildings in Mississauga, a lot of old buildings in Toronto West, Toronto Central, all of that. But the Scarborough older buildings kind of make up a larger share of the sales, and as a result, kind of drag down the averages, especially in the not so ideal areas of Scarborough. So that was our brief look for the month of July at Toronto condo prices from across the city. In the future, I'm going to go back to doing more breakdowns of by bedroom number and maybe by per square foot, although per square foot analysis is always a little bit misleading, as I've explained many times on this channel. But anyways, stay tuned. There's a lot more exciting content coming out, a lot more exciting Toronto condo content coming out, and I'm really, you know, excited to record and share with you guys. And as always, subscribe and follow for more. And for any other inquiries, feel free to get in touch with me. My contact information is in the description box, or you can book a call with me with the link in the description box as well. Thank you very much for watching. Stay safe and stay tuned. Thank you.